Hello everyone, this is Locko S, and welcome to a sort of a wrap-up to the 2024 and beyond uh, series of videos that I released last week. Sort of put a little bit of more of a bow on it and to make things all nice and neat. This isn't really talking about the 2024 and beyond video per se, but rather about content that will be coming in 2024 and beyond that are core to the sim that they released about in this weekly newsletter. And I kind of like that they did this. A lot of these things that they talk about aren't really things that you would show off in a video format. These are more like just like they're better off in a text format like this. So we'll go over these more core features of the sim. First off, we have Vulcan for DCS. Now, I will say that my current system runs DCS very well for the equipment that I have for it. So I do have a 360 Ti. I would have gone with a 370 Ti or a 380 Ti, but I had to get this PC back in October of 2021 when my old PC kind of bit the dust unexpectedly. So I figured instead of trying to troubleshoot that PC because it was getting kind of old, I would just get sort of a good PC, but nothing like spectacular. And so I ended up getting that PC also because I got the 360 Ti because unfortunately that was the only card that was available for immediate use. Everything else was on back order, and I needed to get a PC so I could actually play D&D with my friends. So that, and I wasn't really looking for, at the time, nothing was really, needing that much more powerful anyways. So I went with the 360 Ti, because also, I only record and play in 1080p, because that's my monitor size, and so with that, between a monitor and the card, I'm actually I pretty much run DCS at 60 FPS all the time. I will say there are sections of the Marianas map that still give me trouble, though. So I am looking forward to Vulcan to smooth out some of the very few remaining trouble spots. Plus, I do want to see what Vulcan does with the 5000 series cards that are coming out later this year. If Vulcan plus a 5000 series card can make VR work near perfect for a lot of people, or work in 4K for a lot of people, near perfectly, I will consider picking up a 5000 series card and getting a whole brand new PC for that. It's just I don't want to put in the effort or the money into a rig that's going to be super expensive and not get that much benefit from it. So this is definitely something that I am going to be looking forward to for DCS. It's kind of going to influence my PC rig buying decision later on. Although my other sim that I play, which is not really a sim, but it's still kind of sim-like, Star Citizen, that's also going to influence my decision, although depending on how long or how much progress that makes, we'll see how much of an influence that plays on my PC buying decisions. But that's Vulcan. Hopefully it comes out. Although I'm going to put a pin in this and say Vulcan for DCS, probably more likely for 2025. I don't want to bet on it being in 2024, but 2025 seems reasonable because multi-threading was a prerequisite to support the Vulcan API backend, and that has been implemented, so we are good there. All right, there we go. Now we get to the fun part, which is the DCS core engine. So we have some interesting functionality improvements coming to DCS. Save game is going to allow you to save your game mid-mission. This will be very useful for longer missions, especially on missions where you're refueling. Partially so that if you do mess up your refueling, you can go ahead and go back to it and then redo that, just practice refueling. Also, if you're doing a mission that requires mid-air refueling, that's probably because it's a very long mission, and sometimes you might have life might break into your gaming session, and being able to save and just power down DCS and take care of that will be very useful. Plus, also, if there's also a really difficult mission, you can just fly right before you get to that difficult part, and then save, and then that way you don't have to repeat the entire mission all the time. So it's going to come in handy. Although I tend to design my own missions that I fly, so I'll have to see about. I might get into playing more single player content once the save game feature becomes a thing. Now, down here we have the replay system, and that's going to be really useful for content creators like myself, just because when we create cinematics for DCS, we usually fly the aircraft, do the mission or do whatever scene we want to do with this aircraft. Then we save a track, and then we rewatch the track, and then we get our camera angle shots with the track, because then that way we don't have to do some weird magic with flying and trying to be accurate. We just focus on flying for the shots, and then we use the track system and the replay system to then get the camera angles and the visuals that we want from it. So, really looking forward to this. Any improvements to the replay system, always welcome. Infantry unit improvements. I will say one of the things that DCS lacks really badly is infantry, especially new infantry models. The vast majority of the infantry models and humanoid models in game are ancient, and it would be very nice for the sim to catch up to more modern times with infantry, make it look a little bit nicer, make it look a little bit more, perform a little bit better. Also, animations, it would be kind of nice to see them move around a little bit more realistically, make them do different things with the AI with infantry. It kind of looks a bit stale as is, and it would be nice to get infantry an overhaul. Definitely an improvement, especially for especially for people who do close air support missions and helicopter missions, because you're down low and looking through a targeting pod. This is going to be huge. Speaking of new units, because we are supposed to get new infantry models with the infantry unit improvements, we are also getting new units for air, ground, and naval units. I am excited very much to see what naval units come into game. DCS has a decent selection of ships, but they can definitely use more of them. They can also use reworked naval units. But let's talk about what exactly this is, because this is going to be kind of controversial to some people. So, new units will be available in 2024 that will range from World War II to modern day. Each unit requires thousands of man-hours to create and will be provided as optional packs at their highest levels of detail. However, standard versions will also be available for free to ensure both single-player and multiplayer compatibility for all. I think this is the best of both worlds. This is the best option they could have taken, and I'm glad they have. Let people like me, who are very much high-end, very much DCS hardcore players and content creators and machinima creators, pay for the high-quality units and then have those high-quality units be released as slightly lower quality units, but still very likely enhanced from their older versions if they're doing a remodel of something, to give to you guys or the general community. It's crazy how bad the B-52 looked prior to the new model. The B-52 and the B-1 Lancer looked pretty bad, but now they look pretty good. So I don't mind spending some of my money on DCS for them to go back to the older units, refresh the older units, and even bring in new units that we've all been asking for that are going to be really only AI available. So I think this is the best of both worlds. Let's do it. I will say that I do hope that with these new air, ground, and naval units, two things. One, I hope that they kind of prioritize updating and upgrading their oldest units in game. So, like, for instance, my biggest gripe with the game is that the Russian fleet assets all look ancient, and they look like they're from the late 90s, because they probably are. So if they upgrade the Russian naval units all to one standard, perfect. If they do introduce new units, also good, but I feel like right now DCS needs to focus on upgrading older units to newer ones first. Also, my only second thing I want to I hope they are careful about is their pricing and how they want to do their packs. The World War II pack already exists, so if it's a World War II unit, I just hope that they just include it in that World War II unit pack. Just keep it all nice and tidy in that one little pack. Less confusion, less issue. It's all in that one pack. Otherwise, and and maybe have like a Cold War era pack and then a modern pack. Like, don't make too many additional optional packs for units. I hope they kind of keep it where it's only a few packs, but they keep on adding more units to that pack to make it worthwhile, so that if I pay $25 at the start, I'm getting all those units, but then if someone else pays $25 later on, they're getting more units, and the $25, for instance, that I put in also gets me those units. So we're always like, it's less microtransaction-y, where we're always trying to buy like $5 for like one thing. It just, I think it'd be nice and just keep things simple, just to keep like very broad packs, and they just update the packs, sort of like they do with World War II pack. But even then, regardless, the best thing about this, I think, is standard versions are going to be free for everyone at a slightly reduced texture quality. And if you're going to complain about the texture quality or like the model quality being quote-unquote the standard version, not the high-def version, keep in mind, if you fly anything more advanced than like the upcoming F4E, and even with the F4E, your engagement range for your weapons, from everything from Vietnam era onto the modern day, the engagement ranges are so long that you're only going to really see your targets either as dots, contacts on a radar screen, or through the narrow, zoomed-in, pixelated view of a targeting pod. You're not really going to see the high end, or you're not going to really be able to appreciate like the high quality model unless you're flying in formation with those units. So, and even then, if you're focused on flying, you're not going to be really looking at those units too much. So I don't feel like, especially if it's like the quality of the B-52 and like the B-1 Lancer, I honestly think they look perfectly fine. Just sitting off like on a ramp, and you're just taxiing by them. You just look off to the side. Oh, cool! It's a B-52, and then you just focus on your taxi onto the thing. It's the 4K versions will be nice, however, for content creators to do their work. But enough rambling about that. Graphics improvements, basically just going to be Vulcan stuff. So, plus they're going to do more things to render graph, improve special effects, further enhancements to the FLIR. Let's hope so. I think they still need to go through and add in a bunch of more units to the FLIR, but they might want to go ahead, add in the standard versions for a lot of older units, then add in the FLIR. No sense doubling over their work, and I'm all for that. Weather, this is something I'm going to be really interested in, because I do like flying in less than ideal weather conditions. Don't know what's going on with my... There we go. So, weather. The weather focus for 2024 will be on a new fog system and towering clouds with appropriate line of sight blocking. Yes, and big time yes. This will be amazing. I want this to be in. I really hope that if there's... Of the few things I want to happen in DCS for 2024, I really hope the weather's a thing. I'm always cautious, because usually when I want something very much for DCS, it's always going to be in the next year down the line. But if they can get these weather improvements in for DCS for 2024, that'd be amazing. Especially new fog on the Kola map. Chef's kiss. That's what I want. Voice chat. They're just basically going to expand their in-game voice chat system to vehicles, ships, and other units, and external application support, other player-requested features. I use SRS. SRS works. If you guys use the voice chat for DCS and use the in-game voice chat, that works. I think especially the in-game voice chat option will be nice for people who just want to like get together and just like throw together a mission with friends. But I know for my servers, I use SRS, so this isn't going to be a huge thing for me. Spherical Earth. They even flat out say with Spherical Earth that they do not expect it to release this year due to the size of the Endeavor. I don't expect Spherical Earth to exist until 2026. I'm going to have to make a bet with some of my friends who play both DCS and Star Citizen. I don't think Spherical Earth is going to come into DCS before Star Citizen gets Pyro. I genuinely believe Pyro is going to come to Star Citizen, and possibly even the third system in the lineup, which is probably going to be Nyx, before Spherical Earth comes to DCS. That's how far I think Spherical Earth is out from us. That's not a problem, because we're getting quite a few maps, and even with the map selection we have right now, we're getting to a pretty good step. Once Cola comes in, I don't think this is going to be as necessarily a big deal for me, but we'll see. Dynamic campaign. Please read the newsletter that released at the tail end of last year to discuss that in detail. It's probably going to be maybe late 2024. Who knows? It's dynamic campaign seems to be an internal dev hell, but they did say they're working on UI, so I do have hope that's going to release in mid to late 2024. Air traffic control. This is something that I think is going to be pretty neat. Although we have a solid design to provide an excellent ATC experience, much of the work in 2024 will involve how we generate the voice dialogue and create a much improved interface. That's going to take some time, but if we can get air traffic control in, say, early 2025, that'd be cool. I do feel like one of the problems with air traffic control right now in DCS is it's very basic and very old. So getting an improved air traffic control would be very nice, especially just for AI work. Improved accessibility. Make DCS more accessible to new players. New GUI for the launcher, new capabilities, new interactive missions to shallow the learning curve with some popular modules. That'd be cool for new players. I definitely don't mind them doing stuff for new players. I know when I started DCS, it was very much jumping into the deep end of the pool, so I don't mind them helping out new players. Air-to-air missile development. This is going to be neat for me. We plan to migrate the R27 AA10 family. So the R27 family is, I believe, the R27. I believe there's a radar guided version, there's a infrared guided version, and then there's extended range versions of both. So those are actually, and I do know that those are, with the Russian aircraft, some very important missiles. Those are very much the AIM-7 equivalent for Russia. So getting those up to date would be cool. And then getting the R-73s, which are sort of upgraded short-range missiles for the Russian Air Force. Getting these two missiles migrated to the new component structure and flight dynamics will be very big for Red 4. So I do hope that comes in. And this will be coupled with a new proximity fuse model that accounts for Doppler closing speed, modified seekers, and a more realistic interaction model between the missile and the supporting radar. That'll be really cool. Get the sim on that end a bit more fleshed out, and this will be done within the larger MiG-29 project framework, which makes sense because the MiG-29, I do believe the inner pylons on the MiG-29A do carry RS-27s, and R-73s are also a big missile for the aircraft, so that'll be good to see for Red 4 to get them to have their missile reworks come into play. Other missile types will also be developed in the same way. Good. However, while I do like air-to-air dogfighting, I'm definitely a big fan of, I'm a slightly bigger fan of air-to-ground operations. So, we continue to develop new munitions, as well as update existing air-to-ground weapons to include a new component model with advanced flight performance. This includes guided bombs and tactical missiles. And this is one of my big things. Regarding anti-radiation missiles, ARM, we are developing narrow-band specialized seekers that were used with early arms of the 1960 to 1980s prior to the more modern HARM class of missiles with broadband seekers. These older arms, such as the AGM-45 Shrike of the Vietnam era, will be modeled with older arms systems. Yes! This is going to be really fun. Remember, this is something that hasn't been necessarily brand new and now. This is something that isn't brand new. A couple of updates ago, with Heapler talking about the F4E Phantom 2, they did mention that one of the things Heapler was also kind of working with ED on was the AGM-45 Shrike. So, getting the AGM-45 Shrike, getting an updated seeker head, broadband seeker head, that would be really cool. I will also say, as part of this little update, I am going to be working eventually on tutorials for the A4E Skyhawk, and the AGM-45 Shrike is actually a part of the community's A4E Skyhawk's weapons selection. So this is going to be a very interesting weapon to cover whenever that comes into play. So ECM, we are developing more advanced principles of electronic warfare that will allow simulation of a greater variety of electronic warfare attack and countermeasure modes and capabilities. This is a very complex task and a confidential subject. We cannot promise quick results, but work is underway to deliver a satisfactory simulation of this opaque area of modern warfare. Even if they do a very basic, kind of high-level abstracted ECM that's a bit more in-depth, I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm not expecting a whole lot from ECM, but if they can do at least a little bit more work, that'd be pretty cool. Something that I feel like is also even just as more important than even ECM is the new landing gear. A new 2-component landing gear system was released for the Mosquito last year. We will continue integrating it into other aircraft this year. We plan a separate newsletter article that will explain the new capabilities and what it brings to landing gear behaviors. New landing gear behavior, carrier aircraft, let's go. I definitely want to see how Hornet landings will work with the new landing gear system, and maybe Heapler will then... I'm quite sure the ED will give access to this tech to Heapler, and it'd be really cool to see Heapler also further work on things. Because I do think Heapler did, with their F-14 Tomcat, rework the landing gear stuff with them, so... Looking forward to this new landing gear tech, especially with the Hornet. Viper is going to be interesting, but I definitely think the Hornet's really going to benefit from this. Especially because with the Hornet, you're supposed to kind of slam it into the ground. So you're going to get a lot more play with the landing gear, whereas with the Viper, you're supposed to come in and more gently touch it down. Going into the individual modules, I might as well cover this. So in parallel with the development of the new modules discussed in last week's newsletter, we will also continue to update, fix, and improve existing aircrafts and maps. They're not going to really talk about maps too much down here, but some of these efforts include, but are not limited to, radar improvements. So they're going to work on Phase 3 efforts. Will continue with a focus on better single-target track simulation, false target generation, and more realistic look-down effects. I really hope they get STT simulation down pat. It's a little bit annoying sometimes where I'm firing Sparrows, and the Sparrows seemingly go dumb for no reason. So that would be nice. Data transfer card, yes, please, yes. I want this. For each aircraft, the DC consists of a variety of areas that are first modeled, such as data link, navigation, radio, weapons, sensors, and more. Once these elements are completed, they will be organized into a unified DTC interface. I remember... Data link, I believe, is coming... They've done a lot of work on data link recently. So I want to assume that they have, at the very least, the start of this already worked on. Hopefully they can get this done this year. This is something I really think that would help with multiplayer servers, especially trying to coordinate different groups of multi-group players. So hopefully this is a big thing that gets worked on. I don't know if it is or is not, however, though. Fuse settings. All modern aircraft will benefit from the new and advanced fusing options introduced for our World War II modules. This includes the new payload interface and mission editor, and rearm refuel window that will allow a Fenix setting, nose and tail fuses, and new 3D rendering of the fuse selections. I could definitely see as a ground pounder this being a very interesting thing to learn, so hopefully it's not too opaque and they give a little bit of a guide for this. Because otherwise we're going to be playing around a lot with fuses and not knowing what the heck we're doing. DCS F-16C Viper, so this is a very much a specific aircraft-focused development report. Priority work for 2024 includes the Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod. Okay. About time we got that. A first perspective pilot model. Okay, we definitely need that. And other improvements like the new HUD symbology and RWR handoff tones. I don't know why they need new HUD symbology, but I guess they might have missed some HUD symbology on the first go. It seems odd that we're getting new HUD symbology. You think that would be something they would just release the HUD, and the HUD would just be everything that you need. But I am looking for the Viper. I don't think I'm going to be doing a Viper tutorial for a while because I do know there's a lot of work to be done on the Viper still, relatively speaking. But getting the Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod and the first-person pilot model will be very nice. DCS F-18C. The biggest task for 2024 is refactoring of the flight model and flight control system. Landing gear physics, which I'll talk about a little bit that later, and improved external lights. Once the new external lighting system is complete for the F-18C, this technology will be used for other aircraft modules. Now, there's a lot of interesting things here at this F-18C mini report here. Refactoring of the flight model and flight control system. I guess they found more data and they want to fine tune it a little bit more, but okay. Hey, if they feel like they can get the flight model better, all the more power to them. Landing gear physics. I do believe landing gear physics is going to dovetail with the new landing gear model up here. So hopefully this new landing gear model that was mentioned up here, the next aircraft that gets put into is the Hornet. So that's interesting that that's mentioned 2 times already in 2 separate areas in this report. Improved external lights are interesting because I thought we already got improved external lights as some of the modules. So maybe they want to even further improve the external lights, and then once they further improve the external lights, then they're going to export those to all the different aircraft modules. So that'll be cool to see. I also, in addition to ground pounding, I do also like night flying and bad weather flying, so getting new external lights is always going to be fun to see those in aircraft. For the Apache, we have the addition of the fire control radar core functions that were just recently added. The next steps in 2024 include the addition of functions and modes such as link and remaining radar modes, new George and flight commands, and the campaign. I have the Apache. I need to fly it more, but I need a way better control setup to fly the Apache. My very simple flight stick can't really control everything with the Apache. Super Carrier. The oft complained about Super Carrier for, unfortunately, good reason by the community. 2024 will see continued work on the new plane director operations that move aircraft out of the landing area and to a parking location. This is in addition to work on the airboss deck and ready room. Hopefully 2024 is the year. Don't get your hopes up. Mosquito 6. This year we will continue working on the features from Early Access List, including AI crew members and the Drifter recorder. That'll be interesting. I don't have the Mosquito, but I do know that the Mosquito is a multi-crew aircraft, so that'll be interesting to see how they do that with multi-crew and the Mosquito for a World War II aircraft. And rest assured, our other maps and modules will also receive improvements and enhancements. I kind of doubt that, to be honest. I do know DCS, the F4, the F5E Tiger 2 definitely needs an overhaul. Nevada map definitely needs an overhaul. But they're already covering a whole lot of ground with these things listed here, plus what they listed in their core improvements. So I doubt anything major is going to come to the other maps and modules. Even though, like I said, the F5E or the F4, the F5E Tiger 2 really needs some tender care and love, and the Nevada map really also needs some tender care and love. But hopefully they get it, although I doubt it. Also, winter sales, hurry. Also, the winter sale is going to end soon. Don't worry. Don't worry. There's going to be the Chinese Lunar New Year sale coming up soon, so they'll have that. Then they'll probably have a spring sale, and then they'll have some summer sales. Then they'll probably have also have a Memorial Day for summer and a 4th of July sale. Now, granted, after the upcoming Chinese New Year or Chinese Lunar New Year sale, the sales will die down and they'll start slowing up. But you at least don't worry about getting anything in this sale right now. Um, if you don't have the money for it, get an extra paycheck or two, and then wait for the Chinese Lunar New Year sale coming up in a couple of weeks to a month. So don't feel too pressured with the sales. There's always a sale going on for DCS at some time, so don't worry about this too much. And that's really it for this DCS newsletter report going on with more of the core functions of DCS. I do want to point out some things here that I thought were pretty interesting, that I feel like are going to be the highlights for these core improvements, and ones that I hope are done for 2024, although I'm not expecting to be done necessarily for 2024. So if I had to pick, say, 4 things that I really hope to be done in 2024. Infantry unit improvements. We definitely need more infantry. We definitely need to have better animations. New air, ground, and naval units. We can always use more AI assets in-game, especially for mission creation and the like. There are some areas that are criminally underrepresented, and getting more units from those areas would be really nice. After those 2 things, the next thing I would say that I definitely want is weather. Weather is going to be especially the fog system, would be very nice for both like foggy days, but also sort of rainy days. So hopefully the new weather comes up. That'd be really nice. And really, the next big thing that I want to see come into DCS is the air-to-ground munitions work, especially new munitions. Always fun to play around with new munitions, and anti-radiation missiles. That would be a very fun, especially playing around with having to actually plan out your anti-radiation missiles and load in the right seeker head for the missile. That'll be really fun to play around with. Oh, something that popped up with the air-to-ground munitions that just came to mind. I did also remember, Heapler did also mention with her F4E project that the F4E Phantom 2 is planned to come out with at least 2 new weapons. The GBU-8 guided bomb, which I think is a TV guided bomb, and the what's it called? The bullpup, which is a radio-controlled air-to-ground missile. If you know of the RB-4 missile from the Vulcan, the bullpup is basically the American version of the RBO-4 that was developed, I believe, before the RBO-4. I think the bullpup was designed first, and I wouldn't be surprised if the RBO-4 was not a Swedish bullpup, because the Swedish also then have Mavericks that they also have underneath their own designation. So, yeah, air-to-ground munitions, new bullpup. New bullpup air-to-ground missile is going to be fun. I like using the RBO-4 missile, and was it the RBO-4 or RBO-5? I like using the radio-controlled missile in the Vulcan. Getting it for the DCS would be a lot of fun. Getting also like that GBU-8 TV guided bomb will be interesting and fun to play around with. Getting an updated AGM-45 Shrike for even just getting the updated model for the A4E Skyhawk, a lot of fun. So a lot of things to look forward to. Air-to-ground munitions are going to be a big thing for me. Weather's going to be a big thing for me. Look, getting just even a couple more infantry models will be amazing. Getting more air and ground units always makes me happy. Getting new naval units makes me really happy. So hopefully that's it. And that is it for this video. Nothing really more to go over. Just wanted to do a sort of a tie-up video for the 2024 and beyond set, where they actually talk about more things that they didn't show in the video that are coming in possibly this year. However, anything that you saw in this newsletter or read in this newsletter, don't expect it until 2025 and beyond. Just don't get your hopes up too much for DCS. Honestly, my best advice for DCS is fly the couple of modules that, if you own a couple of modules, fly them, learn them really well, read the manual, get really good with them, get really in-depth with them, practice, train, and then if your boss demands more overtime, just work it. Just work extra overtime. Save up the money so that you can buy more modules. Just DCS is one of those things where I love it to death, but development does happen at a glacial pace at times. So that's it for this video, and for the 2024 and beyond video series. I'll probably do this next year, where I do sincerely hope next year that a minimal amount of these development items return. I am definitely expecting a good bit of these to return, but hopefully not as many. Hopefully we get some of these completed this year, and hopefully next year, by the time we do this whole series of videos, we'll have more new things to talk about and less repeats. So until then, this has been LockOS, signing out from this last 2024 and beyond video series.